And we're on audio 213 ago. Yes, never mind. Welcome, everybody. Getting off to a good start here. I got wrong bits of my YouTube showing. Okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Mal Burns, and you're listening to the latest edition of MBTV News. The date today is the 11th of September 2022. And in this program, we bring you the headline news about virtual worlds and immersive spaces online. We occasionally talk about haptics and helmet land, but that is not our prime focus. So, as I said, my name is Mal Burns. You'll find me on Twitter at twitter.com/malburns, all one word, MALBURNS, because, as you know, folks, Twitter is the squashing place. Well, actually, almost everywhere on the web is a squashing place, so maybe I'll go easy on Twitter. We also have an additional feed at twitter.com/Metaworld News. Would you believe that's been squashed too? Of course you would. Right, joining me in the studio here is Mal Burns James Atlloud. Welcome, James.
Oh, well, thank you, Mal. Here we are again. Such
Here
an
we are
exciting
again.
time.
We continue, yes. For those of you at home who don't know James, he's eloquent when he wants to be, but basically he likes twiddling knobs. Yes, indeed. Naughty, naughty. He basically twiddles a knob when he wants to change the angle of me on TV, or when he wants to show my desktop, or a video, or that sort of thing. And
Or
audio.
the cat
Don't
and the
forget.
rabbit.
Yeah, don't forget the audio too.
And the
Oh
audio.
yes, and he has to have a camera on the cat and rabbits. Of course he does. Where would we be without the cat and rabbit? Okay, this has been a very, very busy week for me. You may know from my accent that I'm in the United Kingdom, where all sorts of strange things happening again. Only in the rarest of circumstances do you find yourself with a new prime minister one day and a new, monarch the next day. Yeah, got to stop calling him Charlie. He's now king. And it has, of course, hijacked the news. It took me 2 days to realise that the Ukraine war is actually turning in Ukraine's favour. Seriously so, apparently. Analysts say the war end could be in sight, even though it looks minor at the moment. However, that's all other news and would even be other news under different circumstances. So we're here to look at well, I don't like using the M word, the metaverse business, but it does have an annoying habit of cropping up. It crops up almost as often as Facebook needs password changes, to be honest, which I won't go down the rabbit hole today, but somebody should terminate the Zuckerberg, or at least remove him from the planet where he can't do any more harm, and abandon Facebook and start something new. Right. Moving on. I've introduced James. I've introduced myself. You can find me at Twitter. The reason I give out the Twitter account, by the way, well, obviously, is the links I mentioned here will always take you to the front page of wherever we're talking about, but you may need to click on the same links in Twitter to actually go to the actual, pages that we're talking about. And of course, there are many other things in my Twitter accounts than the stuff we include on this show. So it's a good place to immerse yourself. God, whoever thought of that word? Immerse yourself on my Twitter account. Yes,
I've heard it
that
somewhere.
is a good word, isn't it?
Yeah,
Immersed.
yeah.
Yes, indeed. Okay, talking about immersion, I'll go just look at some pictures before we get going with anything else. Love this headline: what happens on the headset stays on the headset. Now, I'm not a helmet person, and they are, by the way, helmets, most of these things. They are not what I call headsets, they're definitely helmets. Please get your language right, folks. But basically, the WebXR, this, of course, is referring to mixed reality stuff on the web as opposed to standalone things. There's a brand summit basically happening next week, and 15th of September, a couple of days away. There's there's going to be this hosted by Julie Smithson, I know. UTC, London it's 9:30 at night, UTC 8:30, etc. It's all on the poster there. quite a few people, good people there. There's Kent Bai, who we of course know is hosts Voices of VR. Ali Barziv, who's president of the Exile Guild and blogger, Twitter. He gets around all over the place. And Aura Freeman and Katiza Pidal. Well, I know those two names. They're not big on my radar, but they're very familiar indeed. So that's 15th of September, which my guess would be, well, we're 11 today, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, that's this coming Thursday, basically, as far as I can see. And yeah, the times there sound pretty darn agreeable for everybody. Hopefully you can see that RSVP there. It's a website basically, and you're going to be attending online, so basically it's just a matter of clicking there. I'm sure if you check Twitter or whatever for the WebXR Brand Summit, you'll find that anyway. I've certainly get enough emails from them. Moving down to pictures, the Metaverse Safety Week has actually started yesterday, and that just goes on also to the 15th of December. The themes that are happening, human rights, that was yesterday, child safety and children's rights on Tuesday, policy, trust and governance on Thursday, tomorrow digital culture, media and arts, and Wednesday it's medical XR, immersive healthcare. And find out more, you go to www.xrsi.org. And you can find all about attending online and various other things from there, covering the whole world of online safety, where it comes to virtual worlds, immersive spaces, basically, and anything else they can cough up that can be included in the word metaverse, I suppose. All right. This is interesting. Its portrait is obviously, as you can see, I don't know how much detail you can see. Vogue at the top, spatial underneath, and Ready Player Me is the thing at the very bottom there. Now, if this looks vaguely familiar, if you were watching the program last week, I actually had a brief feature on the Fashion Week, a woman who was working on these costumes. This is one they made in Ready Player We. And they resed it as part of Fashion Week in Spatial, and they made the front cover of Vogue. So there you go. The Vogue logo is actually quite small, when I saw the composite picture, I thought it looked like a poster advert or something, but I gather it is actually a cover of one of the editions of Vogue, presumably the UK one. Or maybe all of them, I don't know. So that's quite interesting. You probably recognise that picture by the style of the wings or the thing behind her. They use meshes, so although they can look nice in a picture like that, they tend to be quite stiff, not flexible when you actually see them in world. So sort of they should. I'm sure they'd have no problem getting a sponsor in the form of a starch manufacturer. That would probably fit, if you see what I mean. Well. Was that a snigger, James? I hope it was. It was meant to be.
It was funny.
Oh, this is totally unavoidable and absolutely nothing to do with this program at all. But do you recognise it? This is a lady called Liz Truss, who at the time this photo was taken, she was leading a campaign for the legalisation of drugs and also a campaign to disband the monarchy. Strange world where the very same person had to attend Balmoral on Monday to be made our new Prime Minister, and on Tuesday she's had to go with everything else. But believe it or not, of course, as well as ban the monarchy, I forget which province it is, but one of our famous realms, as King Charles refers to them, actually legalised cannabis during the week. And this was before the death of the Majesty, actually. But Liz Truss here promptly sent an edict saying that the Great British government forbids you to do that. So, turncoat or what? I have no comments on the rights and wrongs of that, but, legalise drugs, and suddenly she tells the foreign government they can't legalise cannabis, which is more of a herb than a drug anyway. And abolish the monarchy, but only after I've been up there to get appointed. Come on. Anyway, if you ever see that picture around again, you will sort of maybe guess who it is. But yeah, she looks different there. She actually looks pretty innocent. not to mention other things. Right, moving on. This, of course, is Britain again, but it's also virtual world. This was the first that happened, really. Spatial IO, who are WebXR thing, they basically put a tribute simulator, like a single region sim, as it were, up online. It was available via the web, via Spatial XO, and very rudimentary. Photographed the palace in the background, various portraits of the late Queen in the foreground, British flags, and basically it was open pretty much immediately on the announcement of her passing. For people to go and lay down and put tributes and stuff, and I should go back there and see what's happened now, but because it's obviously been some days and word has got around. But I think yesterday somebody on Second Life actually created a place, but Spatial were really on the ball. They thought of it immediately, and it was good to see that somewhere you could go online, just immediately got the news rather than waiting for somebody to create something in Second Life. So that was Spatial IO, and well done them. This is actually a meeting, Sansar, where we occasionally do our news from, has sort of been revamped a little bit. This is a meeting of various developers working, in Sansar. It's not the Sansar staff per se. It's it's just people working on development and creating stuff in Sansar as a creative platform, and they all got together for a little photo there. I'm sure there's a lot more than the ones we see there. I do recognise the giraffe. Actually, well, this is not here yet, but that's interesting. There's a giraffe character, as in Safari, but actually in a different world completely. Well, moving on anyway. Anecdotal as these are. This is a timeline of adopted XR terminology. It was one of the blogs in the week. You probably can't really read it, but you can probably find it on Twitter feeds and stuff. Actually, including mine, which will probably take you to wherever the real big size thing is. Starting in 1935 with spectacles, moving up to extended reality and real world metaverse. Actually, they're put down as 2021. And in the lower half, you've also got the generic phrases, MEMX, the cyberspace, which came into use in the 1960s. It was revamped. We had the information superhighway in mid 70s to mid 80s, and the author Gibson, I can't remember his name. In 1982, cyberspace again, and the other plane. And then Neil Stephenson coined the metaverse, which actually was slightly before they've listed the internet, was coming in as about 93. And they're developing into the web, and then Web 2, and then Web 3, Web 5 is marked down there for 2025. So they are looking ahead at the bottom there. And just summaries about the metaverse, the Neil Stephenson version, which was 1992. The official roadmap for the metaverse, which was published in 2006. I remember that. And that included Neil Stephenson type virtual worlds, also Google Earth and Mirror worlds, augmented reality, and something called life logging. And Web 3, as they have it here, which is multiple definitions of the decentralized web, not necessarily requiring 3D, fusion of digital and physical, like AR, and 3, continuing prior virtual world definitions, adding decentralized monetization and identity layers. So, intriguing sort of, for those of you who like to talk about these things and technical things and ways of explaining to each other than the general public, who probably wouldn't understand a word of that. There you go, timeline of adopted technologies. Moving on. This is just a screenshot. I haven't got the link up. It's a site called NFT News Today. As you can see, somebody tweeted this. LG, who make a lot of smart TVs, are actually going to enable users to buy, sell, and display their NFTs via their television set. Now, I suppose if I went and paid, a few £1 million for an NFT of a painting, I've always said, well, what do I do with it when I've got it? Where do I put it? And, it seemed like the only place you can put it is probably some particular virtual land that's where the proprietor is the person who sold you the darned NFT, But it does sound like you'll be able to load any NFT you own into some kind of, I don't know, viewer or whatever on your television set. So you could then be, this would be a way, for example, if it was artwork, where you could display your NFT purchase for all to see people who came and visited you. You would have to put the television set on as the display device, but it looks like they're thinking along those sort of access lines. Although I personally don't think we're going to go that far with NFTs, at least not in the short term. We're probably going to hear a lot about them, but in reality, do you actually know anybody? Well, if you're in tech, the answer is probably yes. But if you're not, do you actually know anybody who's started building their NFT collection? Don't bet you haven't. I don't know anybody personally who has, except possibly online, and even then you can't be sure. Okay, moving on down. Right. This, believe it or not, this is a conference that took place this week, and regardless of what I told you earlier about the Ukraine, this was the Kyiv Tech Summit. Apparently it's a regular event, and it went ahead as normal in, of course, Ukraine's capital city. And this chap, Vitalik Buterin, this is just really a matter of interest in the centre there. He looks pretty young, doesn't he? He's the co-founder of the Ethereum blockchain, and he was one of their major speakers at that summit. And he is actually Ukrainian, or was. I mean, I presume he's in Silicon Valley or somewhere by now, but he was there keynoting that in his own home country, despite the ongoing war around him. And this is another pic from the same event, you know, showing the stage and the people on there. On the left is Rev Miller, who's the co-founder of Atlantis World. Alexa Bornyakov, I can't really pronounce that. In the middle is actually Ukraine's Deputy Minister for Digital Transformation. And then there's Vitek again on the far right. So, yeah, I thought that'd be kind of interesting. I was actually surprised because when I saw the post, I thought, is that Kyiv? Of course it is. So there you go, some nice little pictures there. Now, it's going to be quite a short show today. We actually are moving on to another show in around half an hour. So I'm going to endeavour to get some of our news clips out of the way. I've got two clips, first of all, which are about why the OR conference is such a great event, and a video recap of OR Asia. They're both pretty short. So you should be fine with them, and that's actually followed by a little episode 61 of Artillery Briefs, which is looking at AI usage and consumer attitudes, and I'm pretty sure even all of these together are not going to take up too long.
This is really the grandest family reunion in XR. I just put my head in so many different headsets, and then the contact lenses and the haptic suits, and now we have these chairs for driving, and it's just the best toy store ever, and it's amazing.
AWE strength visits everything. So many people are here ready to meet other people and collaborate on projects. And because AR/XR community is rather small relative to others, everybody kind of sort of knows everybody. Everyone's ready to work with everybody. And that feeling permeates everyone that I do.
Every time I come here, I've made connections that benefit my company and our team. The connections I make here help us grow and learn together.
That's obviously an ad for the European edition, or EU. This is a recap of OR Asia again this year's, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't be showing it, would I? Okay, that was a video roundup of the Augmented World Expo in Asia, happened recently. Just video roundup, really, nothing much else. One thing I did notice there, anecdotally, is that I'm pleased to see that in some countries, other than here in Britain at least, people are still recognising the need to wear masks, even though they've obviously opened up and are having these conferences again. The profusion of masks being worn there, and speaking as somebody who also wears a mask whenever I go near other people outdoors, good to see that, at least in some countries, not here. People are still aware of the danger. Anyway, maybe Mark Zuckerberg will... never mind. Right, okay, so that was really all the tech stuff. Before we go any further, I just got two rather more lightweight things to show you. One was subtitled, "This happens in every metaverse." And, well, the final one is something about Psycho... No, I'm going to do Psycho Zuka first. I'm not really sure what this is about, but it has a certain charm to it. I don't know whether charm is the right word, but there we go. Finally.
Oh, man. Dude, have you seen Sword Art Online? This is just like that. Except for, like, nothing happens.
Dude. Have you read Ready Player One? This is just like that.
Except nothing happens.
Dude, I know, nothing happens here.
You want to be friend? I get Gear VR with fun. Gear VR. Do you like Gear VR? I get it with fun. America? You are from America?
Have you seen Sword Art Online?
Dude, have you read Ready Player One?
Gear VR? Oculus Rift? Which PC wife? America. You leave America?
Because I didn't like
Because
America
you
too
love
so
Ready
much.
Player One.
I love
Like,
America.
I love America. We one day if I'm
We talk English.
I'll
You are
be
my
totally
friend. What is
ready.
your name?
Like, I'll be ready to
What
play
is your
all the
name?
game for
What is
real.
your name? America?
I don't get the gist of that one. I think it's really quite funny, the idea that all these new virtual worlds starting up, they're all the same. They all sort of think they're modelled on Ready Player One, but in fact nothing is happening in most of them. And when people do actually suddenly appear on the horizon, the conversation is largely the same. Oh wow, and Ready Player One, and are you American, and do you have Oculus or something? Yeah, blah blah blah. I thought that was a little bit amusing. Anyway, put those away, and let's have a look at some web pages with the actual headlines in. Now, we have this every week, of course. This is scarredghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com, and it can come with or without audio. That's the with audio version. You won't find that quite so commonly. You can't put a tag on the end of on the end of the Earl to get sound. Anyway, moving on. That's Tony Vitillo, the Skull Ghost himself. Basically, it's an update. This was published on Monday, and it's actually a look back at the week before. So really, this is a roundup of 2 weeks ago. But sometimes he picks up stuff I've missed, and elaborates on stuff. And it's just a very good roundup at the beginning of every week. We're of course recording this, as I said, on the 11th of September, which is Sunday. Tomorrow will be a Monday, and I suspect if you follow this link to scarredghost.com tomorrow, you'll get a new edition of this particular page. He publishes quite a lot of other stuff in the week too, so it's always a good site to drop in on if you've got nothing else to do in terms of reading the news. Anyway, talks about Snap and payoffs and fed up with that word. Lenovo getting ready to launch new glasses. We had a video, in fact, on that last week, if I recall. or was it photos? I'm not quite sure. A best metaverse experience from Blackpink. We showed you that last week too, of course. Anyway, so round up there. ScarredGhost.com. Next, we've got xrtoday.com, another regular site, xrtoday.com, and saying that a major report calls for standards on XR ethics. Obviously, we've been hearing about, standards, bodies and stuff recently, but this is more technological standards and sort of interoperability and whatever. But this research data has actually opened the discussion on a crucial component of the XR industry, and that is a matter of ethics. Obviously, people like Mal Burns would not be showing up to something like this for obvious reasons. But in a way, you could think of them as addressing the kind of problems that Facebook and such like have actually created. So this is a roundup of the news and stuff, and there are links in there to get to the actual report itself. Okay, so that's xrtoday.com. Moving down the list, Meta, whoever they are, have actually been fined $402 million in EU currency, actually, and because of their subsidiary Instagram, it has illegal privacy settings. Basically, they allow the privacy settings are illegal in the sense that they should not apply to children, but Facebook doesn't stop any children applying them. So yeah, I suppose that's just a cup of tea money really for Zuckerberg. But $402 million, you'd think you'd get the message, wouldn't you? Doubt if you will. Okay. Oh, sorry. You'll find this little article at engadget.com. So it's engadget.com. Putting that one aside, we can move down to Forbes.com. Guess what? And guess who? Well, no, it's not Charlie Fink. It's Bernard Marr, another notable metaverse commentator, who's simply asking, will smart glasses replace smartphones in the metaverse? And this is actually quite an interesting question. Because we all know augmented reality and stuff like that, and kind of virtual reality. But if you were, in what context would a pair of I always see these smart glasses plugging into my iPhone or something, or a Bluetooth connection or something, basically being a big screen and some augmented reality to go with the phone. But ultimately, this is actually a very good point. The glasses may be self-contained in themselves, so you might actually wear the same glasses as a virtual pair of glasses when you're in a virtual world, and as a normal pair of glasses where you're outside in the real world. So really the question here is, where do the smart glasses, which are coming online now, fit in this in context? And I, for one, can assure you that for people like me, a helmet or even a headset do not fit into the equation at all. It would actually take a pair of glasses to fit into the equation for me. So be it the current flat 2D web, or even the 3D web, or 3D apps generally. Anyway, so a very interesting article there that you'll find at Forbes, FORBES.com. If you follow my Twitter feed and see this article, you can get directly to the page. Otherwise, you'll get the home page. But it should be easy to find, just as Charlie Finks are as well. Okay, so moving down my list, I now come to HTC, who have launched an aftermarket face and eye trackers to go with their Vive headset. You'll find this article at roadtovr.com, ROADTOVR.com. And basically it has facial tracking and eye tracking. Let's get it right here, in the same unit, which is the Vive Focus 3 standard VR headset. Headset or helmet? I don't know. I still think of this as helmet rather than headset, but semantics aside, this is not going to be cheap. You're going to be talking about $1,300, and I'm sure you'll find that the Emperor Zuckerberg is busy trying to undercut such prices, even though he's putting his own prices up. He also demoed, this is the Zuckerberg again, he also demoed a new version of his headset this week, which looked just as clunky as the previous ones, but costs a hell of a lot more because it too has got all sorts of fancy stuff inside it. Sort of since that Facebook, or Meta I should call them, are determined to continue down helmet path rather than anything more palatable. But the only good thing I gather about the Meta headset or helmet is that you don't need a Facebook password to get in, because based on what I've had going around here today, it's completely scuppered me. Facebook is everywhere, so it's linked to all my devices, including Portal, assistance on the desktop, and everywhere I look, it wants me to change a password that I only changed about a week ago. They're mad, they really are. Okay, moving on. I must, I keep saying to myself, I'm not going to keep moaning on about that guy and that platform or whatever, sort of just include them when it's important. But every week they do something else that, it's not coming out of a brain, it's coming out of somebody's arse, it's just lunacy, and yet they still have customers. It really makes you wonder. Okay, oh yeah, still working. Something went wrong here. It's not loading the page. I am online, aren't I?
Yeah, you're still online. I can hear you.
Okay, well, there's actually another page from the Scar Ghost site there, SKARREDGHOST.com, and it's actually an interview he did. Let's see if I can get it to show us on the web. Ah, okay, that's what it looks like. Okay, the web page. Okay, basically, he says it's an emotional interview with somebody called Tamo Di Bartolo, who's a Web3 expert, and Tony Patillo, the Scar Ghost himself, credits this guy as the person who made him start his blog and got him into the field in the first place. So he describes it as an emotional interview, basically. So, same site, scarghost.com. And where are we? Huh. Oh, okay. Oh, that time it came up. Never mind. I'll get there one day. Yep, that was the Vibe thing again. Okay, back to Forbes again, FORBES. This is Charlie Fink's regular column called This Week in XR. And at Forbes again. And this is published near the end of the week, so this is pretty much a roundup of the same period I'm covering on this show anyway. Don't really know where Beijing's Metaverse. It's likely there's a few things in here that he would have covered that I would have missed, especially given I've been hijacked elsewhere this week. So a good little roundup there. I'm not going to go through every single item, but yeah, there seem to be a few things there that I haven't covered here or in my feeds. Right, moving on to the VRARA.com. THEVRARA. It's actually the VR and AR Association. It's effectively what that initials stand for. VRARA.com. They're talking about the evolving metaverse and related cybersecurity implications. All these issues are really raising their not so ugly heads, really. They've got to be addressed. There was the one earlier where people are actually beginning to panic about, some kind of ethical guidance to the way we use and behave in the metaverse. And of course, here we've got complementary sort of worries about cybersecurity. It's bad enough the way cyber attacks can happen. I mean, I forget where. Iran, for example, launched a huge cyber attack this week on one of the Actually, I don't think it's even a neighbouring country. I can't remember which one's suffered. It's a fairly small country, but no, nonetheless, you know, security really is at play here. Many years ago, people like the FBI were sending people into Second Life because they'd heard and wanted to check up money laundering going on. You know, it was just a cybersecurity issue of sorts. And of course, they didn't really know enough about it to be able to figure it out. And at the end of the day, money in and money out is going to go through Linden Labs anyway. So it's actually targeting the exchanges is where they're going to go if they want to check out money laundering. But they were still, obviously, they were still concerned that maybe people they called terrorists were having their meetings in virtual worlds, which are damn sight harder to monitor than, say, you know, a forum on a website, which can be got into fairly easily these days. But virtual worlds, less so. Now, that's probably good for us decent people who want that privacy, and they like the idea of going into them first to meet our friends and be unmolested by the huge, surveillance engines that control the web now. But there's no reason to suspect that as time goes by, if the virtual world ecosystem, goes through its boom period and then becomes commonplace, then it can be pretty sure all these ethical and cybersecurity issues and everything else are going to be taking predominance. And who knows what the future holds? But there are issues there that need to be. They're better discussed now than waiting until they cause a problem. If only people at the turn of the last century, I'm talking about the 1900s, if only there had been an ethical, ecological conversation about the birth of the motor car. You know, if, for example, it had been decided it would only be for public use, public transport and haulage, for example, private ownership would not be encouraged, maybe not even allowed. Things could have been done at the birth of what was going to be a new thing that could have prevented the nightmare that motor cars present to us today. So, and it would of course have helped sustain public transportation methods that had no reason to really vanish from our landscape. They were simply deemed unnecessary because suddenly we have petroleum guzzling tin cans running around the streets.
So Mal,
yeah,
I'm just going to check with you. We're 10 minutes to the top of the hour.
We are, yeah, and I'm getting on there. Thursday is next door, and she knows we may be overrun a bit.
Okay.
But you're right.
Okay.
I didn't get it to 30 minutes, did I? I did another rabbit hole on you. Thank you for telling me. Okay, so that was the VRARA.com. Before that, we have Forbes. I'm fairly near the end here anyway, so I'm not actually too far behind. Right, IBC.org. The IBC conference was on this week, and one of my great heroines of mine, Noni de la Pena, was there with a session called How Immersive Tech Will Create New Narratives, Transform Entertainment. Went down very well, of course. A lot of acclaim from people there. As far as I know, no video yet of the panel up. I hope it was filmed. They certainly filmed some lesser panels there. She's great. I'd love to interview her actually as well. She's sometimes called the grandmother, or is it the godmother of virtuality or something. Oddly enough, journalism and storytelling is probably her main area. But you know, she's just on top of everything and covers everything equally well. Great speaker as well. So this little roundup you'll find here. You'll find at ibc.org. So IBC, 3 simple letters, .org. 3 even simpler letters. That I like O's like that. Very easy to read out. Okay. And actually that is it. The other clips, I have 4 other items here, but that's actually for a show that will be coming up here on the hour. So we're going to be followed by the InWorld Review shortly. So moving straight down to the bottom here, the only thing I haven't mentioned is my Mastodon feed. All these embedded videos you can view on my Mastodon feed, but these all get cross-published to Twitter anyway. So as I said at the top of the show, follow twitter.com/Mal Burns. MALBURNS. And you'll find this anyway, so you can always click through and you'll get to them here. And when you see them on this feed, you can either play them in situ, or you can click through to YouTube or Vimeo or wherever they've come from. Okay, F Reality Podcast was back this week. They're talking about the Quest Pro on its way. That is one of Zuckerberg's new toys and is not cheap. They're looking at a firewall coming to PlayStation VR 2, and I'm not quite sure what Vorp X is, but it gets something. I love that one. So you can play that here, or go to YouTube by simply clicking on. If you play it here, you can click on there, or you can click down here and go through to YouTube. And the same with the other ones here. We did actually get a video version of This Week in XR podcast this week from Charlie Fink. I don't think that they had a guest this week. That really makes a change, actually. This is different from the Forbes article that I mentioned just a few minutes ago. This is actually Charlie Fink with his mate Ted Shilowitz looking at stuff from the week. A bit of overlap, but it's more of a sort of chatty thing. It's also published on the AWE site, AWE, the Augmented World Expo site every week as well. And in fact, I think it's been published there some weeks when the video version didn't come up to YouTube. And Mixed Realities, or Between Realities I should say, was back this week. They had their season 6 premiere a couple of days ago, and back from their conferences and stuff like that. And earlier in the week we had, of course, the regular 4 days ago, the VR download, which of course yeah, I presume you watched that, James?
Yep, I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looking at VR chips this week and Pico, I listened to a bit of this. As you said, they're back in their regular, if you can call it a studio. It looks like the regular thing again anyway, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And yeah, so it's a good show. All this is good people talking, and they're longer talks than I can show you on this show, and you know, so they're embedded here. And September 1st, oh no, that was an earlier one actually. That also, by the way, that was great, the interview with Jeremy Belson. So that's it for this show. That is it for this show. We've had our videos, we've had our links and web pages, and we've had our embedded videos from elsewhere, which brings us to the point of what we call completion. So I have certainly made it before our follow-up show, put it another way. I think we've got about 5 minutes to go. I mean, approximately anyway. We just have to halt to another stage on the studio island here, and we'll be talking with a Thursday member about the Hypergrid and Hypergrid Safari and all sorts of fancy, wonderful stuff. Pictures and things like that. So for now, for this show at least, I'll say goodbye. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from this bloke here. Mm-hmm. We are XR. No, we better not try that. It's goodbye from me, and it's
goodbye from him.
Yeah, something like that. Have a safe week, everybody. If you're not staying with us, particularly, you know, sort of make sure you have a safe week. Take advice from that Asian conference and keep wearing masks, because who knows, you might need them. You don't want to suddenly find out in a month's time, you'll regret it. Just stay away from spiky invisible objects. You know what I mean. Stay indoors, because you can always go online and experience the world virtually. As long as they don't nuke the servers, but I'm not going to go into that. Stay safe, everybody. Have a good week. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and we will return same time, same place next week. Bye for now.